BMW has worked on their X7 and you have asked me, can they now catch up in the SUV segment to Bentley or even Rolls-Royce? Do they make them obsolete? We're going to find out here on Autogefuehl with Thomas with the update BMW X7 here in Brooklyn Grey. What a setup. Look at that with the extended shallow line. Here you can see then the double kidney is in all black, and look at that, how large it is. Vertical fins right there, and also in here in the M Sport the contrasting lower bumper. What they've done is here with the front setup, they have split the daytime running light and the main headlamps. This has created a lot of discussions. Some love it, some hate it. Tell me in the comments which side are you on. Are you team love or team hate? But overall I think a very impressive setup. They wanted to make a bigger differentiation between the X7 and the X5 or X6 to put this one here even more upmarket. Yeah, maybe also to attack the top luxury brand. Going to find out if that works or not. You wonder about the big microphone today? Well, there's a generator and some, like waterfall stuff running in the background. So best sound quality for you. Length here at 5.16 meters or 203 inches. That hasn't changed, but what has changed, the wheel sizes starting now from 20 inch as base up to 23 inch now. Biggest one so far at BMW, and here these are 22 inch, already very massive styling in these M style here. Also see the badge right there. Wow. And then the M Sport also then has this contrasting side here. Overall a very impressive look, and you can see this is also optimized for space, so especially for US customers, they're using this as a people carrier basically, or for the family and stuff. Therefore more upright windows that you really have also space on the inside. Technology wise, optional here for the 40i or standard for the M60i is rear axle steering and anti-tilt control. Gives you more sporty feeling, but at the same time rear axle steering also somewhat fakes a shorter wheelbase when these rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, also reducing the turning circle. Very interesting, by the way, that with this new electrification, mild hybrid technology, when I'm easing the car here around and just rolling downhill, then the engine tends to shut off and you're rolling. The car is still somewhat active, but the engine is already shut off. So not a true hybrid feeling, but already some mild hybrid moments. Yes, an X7 looks bulkier in the rear than an X5, for example, because again, space also for the third seating row and so on, and for the trunk. But here with this sculptural three-dimensional tail lamp design, really nice. It looks again a little bit more dynamic, and this chrome strip here goes all the way across. I think this color here works very well for the vehicle, doesn't it? Look at that here in the lower part. Autogefuehl fake exhaust police, because, well, the outer one is just for beauty cosmetics. It works well design-wise. Yes, the real exhaust on the inside. So in this case, although it's not just about, the real thing, I think it kind of works, doesn't it? What's your take on that? Overall, I think, considering this is also form follows function, it still was worked on very well design-wise. Or what do you think? Do you like the design? Tell me in the comments. And more colors for you. This one here is sparkling copper gray. Very interesting. It has some kind of copper nuances when you look very closely. Also a very cool color indeed. And this one here is frozen Marina Bay blue. The matte paint. This one looks really striking. I mean, in combination here with the black wheels in 22 inch, maybe a little bit too much, but I would love it, for example, here the matte blue with bright wheels. Or what's your take on that? But yeah, this is also one of the most, screaming out colors. It's not bright, but still, like, this has a big presence on the road. And this green color is called Verde Ermes. It is special, very unusual to see such a vehicle in that color. Would it be something for you? Tell me in the comments. This is the car key. It's actually light but good quality. And then you close the car here on top and open it like this with the keyless entry and door closing sound. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, that's really nice. And then inside of the doors, also very good material use. This is also Sensafin leather red here, soft and real buttons here, everything very easy to control. Hofmeister King design citation. Also big bottles fit in this side pocket right there. And now big news for the cockpit. You see here one curved integration of that well, one carrier, but then screens 12.3 on the left, 14.9 on the right. Soon more details to that, if that's a good idea or not. Here's the M Sport steering wheel. I appreciate that we still have real buttons at the steering wheel, so that's straightforward to control. Then about the seats, look at that. This is also big news then for the X7, also available for the X5, by the way. These here are the so-called Sensafin seats. They're an evolution of Sensatec, so they're animal-free, but super soft. Look at that, how plush they are. The surface itself feels really great, and they also have this pattern on it, so that looks really amazing. It's available here in black, or also in a bright styling. We had it earlier at a different vehicle. In the UK is also the standard to order that, actually. Is it standard there? Well, you can get it in the UK at least. I checked the configurator. In the US, it's definitely standard, and also great choice, moving everything forward, uses way more less resource in the whole production process, and it feels even better. So the X7 has never been that comfortable with this new seat here. This is really amazing. In Germany, it's not in the price list or the configurator, but you can just tell the dealer, I want these seats, and then they promise to get it. That's what they told me, at least. So seating comfort is awesome indeed. By the way, the BMW 7 Series, there it is called Veganza, but it's basically the same material. They just use two different brand names for that because they're different suppliers. Here, the X7, X5 and so on, these big SUVs are being built here in the US, in Spartanburg, whereas the BMW 7 Series is built in Dingolfing, so that's in Germany, and then they have a different supplier, but they have the same material quality for the non-animal materials. Really interesting. Here, headroom with 189 or 642, still plenty of headroom left, although we have the panoramic roof, and we have this command driving position here. You feel like king of the road, but without, let's say, exaggerating it. You know, these top high-end luxury brands like, you know, Bentley or Rolls-Royce, sometimes you have the feeling that they're going a little bit over the top. Some appreciate that, but for me, for example, I like a more form of subtle luxury. So not saying like everyone like, oh, look at that, you know, but more being a little bit functional, and this is still somewhat the case here. Maybe not with the infotainment, but we're soon going to talk more about that. So, look at that there. The cockpit looks really clean and cool, I think. Nice wood integration right here, but of course different styling decor elements are available. This looks like modern tech style here now. Here, this is the way you control the vents. And there you can have some ambient lighting, so I'm going to show you that. Rear knob still for the volume here in the lower part. Yeah, but then the thing is really with the screens. So there is no separate climate unit available anymore. I did prefer this from the pre-facelift. And here it stays always in that part. Yes, that is somewhat helpful at least, but to control it while driving, I mean, it's okay for such a solution, but it was easier before. That's one of the things I do criticize with this facelift here. And let's take a deeper look here into the software. And this to me is a symbol of over-engineering of the software. Clock 2. It took me a while to figure it out. How long did it take you? It is 8:25. Yeah, that's the time actually. And then it switches, you know, like in these, what the fail? Yeah, about that. But I mean, let's take a look at the rest of the software right here. It looks quite amazing actually from the visual part. However, I think it's just overblown. So OS 8 is to me too functional in a way, or it has too many functions. I love the OS 7, especially when I want to have like the consumption figure right here, and then I have to go here, vehicle apps, and then to live vehicle, and then content, and then trip data, and okay, I'm asleep. So yeah, that just takes too much time. I don't get it. Yeah. However, the car internal GPS is still one you can use. Oh, it's a Frank Sinatra drive. I heard President Obama was also in this hotel here recently. So then let's zoom out. Here we're in Palm Springs. So that's actually pretty cool. Very well usable. The CarPlay integration. And that is very well to use, definitely. Interesting thing, definitely. Let's see about the sound system. This is the Harman Kardon sound system. And this gives you a really nice, true, in-depth sound. So yeah, I love that. Wow, that's cool. So I really like to drive the vehicle and listen to music, and at least the volume I can still turn down, and also on the steering wheel I can also put the music up and down. And yeah, I love clicking sounds in the vehicle, right? Because they somehow present a user interface. So you get along with the infotainment system, it's fast enough, but it's more complicated than before. But what about the instruments? Then here, the digital instruments. Let's put that engine alive. Here we go. And then you have left side the speed and right side the RPM. And you can also adjust the things here. For example, the content, what you want to see here. Maybe also some GPS content and so on. Or from the car internal map. And then here, this is then the layout. So you can also change that depending on what you prefer. Here I also prefer the pre-facelift layout. But yeah, you get along with this easily. So it's not an issue or something.
So what we can see here is the head-up display.
Hey, Michelle, don't steal my microphone. So
I'm sorry.
That's my part. What you can see here is the head-up display. Very nice to see. I also put it here to full brightness at the moment. And here a closer look at the ambient lighting. I'm also switching the colors through. Of course, you can even better see that at night. And I also don't dim it at night, that it looks really still kick-ass, yo. So of course Thomas Blue it would be for me, right? So not this one, but definitely indigo. By the way, what I can't show you here at the moment, because I would need a web connection here for the smartphone, I don't have that here at the moment. You can have the Apple Maps actually also in the instruments cluster with the Apple CarPlay. Google Maps you can also have there, but only with the Android Auto. But at least you have then one solution each. That's also a helpful thing to have, that definitely. And what I also find cool with this car, you have separate buttons for things, like a separate button at the inside of the door for the rear shades. And I can easily activate or deactivate the rear shades without going deeper into another menu. Just one button here at the inside of the door, and that's it. And, you know, I can control my seat, my own seat, of course, from here. But I can also switch here at the inside of the doors for this so-called gentleman function. And then I can also control the the other seat on the other side. So, you know, when someone gets in the vehicle and says like, I don't know, this is also a cool camera slider in here in this case, right? Goodbye, Michelle. Yeah, so
the most expensive camera slider. So
yeah, the most expensive camera slider. Yeah, these seats are very expensive. So I think it's a cool function that when someone doesn't know, they kind of like, oh, I don't know how to adjust the seat. Like, wait a minute, baby, I can show you how to adjust the seat. Lower middle console here, you can slide this one open. And adaptive cup holders, they are also very well built. Here still USB-A charger. This one is inductive charging here. It does not have this new function, the air sucked away yet. So the thing is, with the inductive charging, it tends to overheat indeed. So I would probably rather use than the cable charging solution. And then this is also new with the facelift. You don't have the real shifting lever anymore. Pro is, it's a more integrated solution. It's cleaner and, you know, have more space in a way visually. But I do prefer the rear shifting stick over this one. This looks just digital to me. When I'm in a BMW, I want to have like Sync to really touch and feel, you know. This is still, of course, a real deal, but the big one to me was cooler. Here you select the driving modes and start-stop engine, and it is also equipped always with adaptive air suspension, and you can also see it right here because you can also change the level of the air suspension, but it also does that automatically. For example, when you drive really fast or in sports mode, then it also goes a little bit lower. And then we have the split opening here for the armrest. There we go, with USB-C charging. Rear seating is super interesting indeed. So you can still here electronically control the seats, but you can still touch these buttons. Michelle can show that on your side. So what I'm doing here on my side now, these buttons here, and unlike in the all-new 7 Series where everything is digitalized and you have to slide the seats and control them like with screens in the rear, this is so easy because it's a straightforward solution. And here, that way, for example, when I move the seat to this position, I could still sit here, and then we'll see how much space there will be in the third seating row. But if I have the seat here all the way back on that side here, you can see this is the maximum legroom we get. Of course, it's a long vehicle, it's not the best usage of space overall, but still plenty of space, of course, for tall adults. For me, 1 meters 89 or 6'2", and headroom here also still works, even though this is the one with the panoramic roof, of course, from the rear seats. Gives you a great view, and it's so comfortable in the rear here. So this is to me also one of the most comfortable cars in the rear here overall. You can also adjust the back part here in the angle. Here in the front we have mounts for iPad holders, and I think this is also somewhat a better solution than external rear seat entertainment, and so, because when you just put some holders in here and use your own iPad, I think it might be the best solution overall, isn't it? Also, the Sensafin material here in the back, it is so soft and high class in quality. So even if just quality and feeling plays a role, I would always go for this one here. It's really the most superb I've seen in the automotive industry yet. Here, this part you can also move down for cup holders then, and they also secure the bottles quite well, and some more space right here. And now it will be very interesting what we can score in the third seating row. But just a quick remark here in the front, USB-C chargers, 2 more, and then you also have a separate climate unit. This one here, when the engine is running, and still works with real buttons. But once again, the seating comfort here in the rear is really top notch here for the second seating row. And now this button here is to fold the rear part only, and the button below that is for the entry function. And then the front seats moves a little bit forward, therefore it takes a few seconds first. And then this one goes forward and up, and this is also a very easy solution then for an entry. Remember, the alternative to this bench all the way through would be captain's seats in the second seating row. These are also available. Then you have 2 individual seats here in the second seating row, and you can maybe move through the middle. It's quite tight though, so this is maybe the better solution. But then the question is, do you want like 2-2-2 setup or 2-3-2 setup? And this one here with the through bench has the big advantage that you can fold all the things all the way flat. I'll soon show you that from the trunk. The captain seats are a little bit more exclusive. Yeah, but maybe this one is giving you more possibilities. And here the interesting thing is, when I move this seat here forward, as I could still sit there, then I could also somewhat closely fit into the third seating row here. So it is somewhat proof indeed for 7 tall adults. Also headroom is closely but directly working, and you can see here Isofix also for the rear seats, so you could also install some child seats here. Good that they thought of that actually. So indeed this is probably by this solution here the best luxury SUV people mover also, and even easier of course when you're not that tall, or maybe you have children who don't need like extensive child seat but are already not that tall. It may be something in between. This is like a good use then for the third seating row. And you also have some luxury amenities here in the back, cup holders for example, or also a separate climate unit, even seat heating for the third seating row. Yeah, but I think you gotta check the options list for that. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. It's a split gate here, and this allows us a cool picnic function. For example, you can sit down in here and have a chat with whoever you desire. It's 750 up to 2,120 liters is the capacity. Of course, a little bit less if you use the last seating row. But step by step. This is like, a small cover. You can also just remove that. The width here, you see here, is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, so that's really cool. And the total height here is a little bit more than 80 centimeters or 32 inches, so very, very usable here. You can see easy storing of the things, and then you can slide them out. So for packing things, it's actually quite nice to have this additional space here. Yeah, this is how you can see how you can remove that thing as well. And then underneath, look at that, there we go. So underneath we have here a storage of that bigger cover and some more space. And this is at the moment here the setup here with the second seating row, and there are different buttons here. For example, max luggage, and with the max luggage button it only works when the car is properly powered. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, has enough power yet. So then this one also folds flat. There we go. Takes a while, but looks definitely really amazing. And you can see here, this is then the third seating row. It's all the way flat. That is actually pretty cool. And then you can have individual settings here or then max people button, and this one then moves everything up. So a very convenient solution. And there again we have the third seating row. This one you just put it up manual. Then you still have some space here left behind the seats. But overall very well usable. Hardly we see a top-end luxury car that is so well usable indeed. The best engine that BMW has to offer is the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Look at that here, 380 horsepower and 5.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. If you want to go a second quicker, you could also take the 8-cylinder, 4.4-liter 8-cylinder. That is then the M60. However, this one here will be more fuel saving than the 8-cylinder, that's for sure, and it is definitely enough for this vehicle. In Europe, you can also still get the 3-liter diesel. Welcome to Thomas's Luxury Driving Lounge with the BMW X7. Here today, the 40i, the 6-cylinder, and to me the right engine for this vehicle is the most efficient one. You can go like 10 liters or more kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK easily, that's possible. Sometimes even better, cruise control, straight, not too fast. Here a little bit worse at the moment because we're going uphill, uphill, uphill. But they have made this engine a little bit more efficient also, worked a little bit, some tweaks here and there, also mild hybrid integration. So going forward also in this case, the 8-cylinder will have more punch, however, so like a second quicker in the acceleration figure. However, it will also use like 5 mpg worth or like 2.5, 3 liters more per 100 kilometers. So not sure if you want to really have that. Yes, you have a little bit better sound, less like low frequency growling, but again, to be more efficient, saving some fuel, then of course the 6-cylinder here is way to go. And here we can also show you some acceleration. I'll just do it from a standstill right here. I'll put it to the sports mode. There's one button for that. Also go to the S shifting sports mode and go from 0 to miles. Let's go. 55 miles, and that's a quick acceleration, and that was a nice sound from the 6-cylinder. Yes, the V8 would be more growling, low frequency. That is fun. However, here the 6-cylinder is lighter on the front axle. That's of course also an advantage, and you've seen the acceleration, more than enough power. And that's also the cool thing about the X7. It is a large SUV, but still it doesn't feel too different from driving in an X5 or X6. Yes, they feel a little bit sportier, but since you also have, it's an option or standard with the M60 V8, that rear axle steering, especially at lower speeds. This SUV feels so agile and also has a narrow turning circle because of that. Really good job. And also this anti-roll control. Although we sit upright on the road, we have a great panoramic view to the front when we are passing through some great landscape roads like here. It is amazing still. It doesn't shake up at all. In the sports mode, the adaptive suspension also makes it a little bit stiffer, have more contact to the road. I have a good steering feeling. So I always wonder about that. Is it from you guys in the US plant in Spartanburg that you somehow have a better feeling for that? Because I've been criticizing BMW 3 Series especially and some of the all new BMW models for losing the steering feel, because they have this new philosophy of making the steering wheel light, so it's supposed to make the car more agile in the feeling. Yeah, I can understand how they mean that, but I don't think so. For me, a BMW has to have a natural steering feeling, and believe it or not, their SUVs have the best steering feeling in the lineup. It's supposed to be the 3 Series. But it isn't, BMW X5 and X7 have probably the best steering in the BMW lineup nowadays. And yeah, that's really astonishing, but it's just the case. And they have a very good steering control feeling over that. So although I'm driving, let's say, the most bulky BMW there is in their lineup, I'm having so much fun here up the road. Of course, you're overtaking this Lincoln Aviator here. It's also one of the competitors. Yeah, and literally it does overtake this one because we have such a great interior build quality. We've seen that earlier. Also, the nice new Sensafin seats are also activated the seat cooling here at the moment because it's already quite hot outside here, outside of Palm Springs, outside Palm Desert. What a beautiful area here. Always love to be back here. And of course, also Joshua Tree National Park. It is one of my favorite places. Just been again there yesterday. Oh, we're catching up to an X5. Wow, it's such a great race up the hill, almost like going up Pikes Peak. Yeah, I mean, yes, in a 5 Series sedan, this road would be even more fun. But considering the size, it's still a lot of fun. And we can also go back just to the normal comfort mode, and you can easily go up that here. As shifting mode turns up the RPMs higher. That's why you also hear a little bit more of the RPM. But here in the D mode, it's also just fine. You can relax then a little bit more. Yeah. But also when we are in the somewhat softer steering here, I don't have too much, like sports mode, more resistance. In the comfort mode, not so much resistance in the steering, but still feels natural. And also suspension wise, it's fine. You can stay in a normal mode. But I think, especially here, that you reduce some G-forces on the body of driver and co-driver, I think it makes sense to go in sport mode when we're going up these winding corners here. And to me, that's the essence here also of a BMW product, that no matter which segment it is in, it does deliver a sporty driving feeling. And they do achieve that also with the X7 here. That's the cool thing. To me, indeed, the 6-cylinder, especially in the corners, feels a little bit lighter. So when you're more running straight, I mean, you're at the big intersection and then you start using the V8, hit the throttle, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's something appealing to our bodies, definitely, especially when you're a car enthusiast. But here for winding corners, I think the 6-cylinder with a less weight does appeal a little bit more. And yeah, as I said earlier, in running straight, cruise control, highway use, it's also giving you some decent mileage considering this size of an SUV, definitely. As for the roundabout visibility, it is, this in this built upright style from the windows, this greenhouse we have around, and therefore the roundabout visibility is quite nice actually. And let's say, like sunshades, yeah, it's efficient to block out some sun, but I want to have more visibility. One press of a button and these blinds go down. So I like the direct user interface. The only thing I indeed have to swallow is that separate climate control. I like to have that down there. There's one possibility for you. If you say you don't need the space of the X7, you're like fascinated by the vehicle, but the X5 is more or less the same besides the third seating row. Yes, the different siding on the exterior. Oh, sorry. Yeah, BMW surely didn't want to hear me saying that. It's more or less the same. Yes, they want to be the X7 more upmarket now, and they do easily achieve a Rolls-Royce or Bentley. They surpass them with that, especially also in the driving part, So it just feels so much better. And this is already an expensive vehicle, but you don't need to pay more money to get a better vehicle. You do not get that then, So this is, to me, probably the best luxury SUV on the market here at the moment. And when there are some others out there which are more expensive, it's not really worth it actually. And yeah, talking about the X5 there in front of us. So if you want a little bit more agile, you don't need the third seating row. You can easily go for an X5. And the sofa version still has the manual climate unit, but already gets here the new Sensafin seats I'm sitting on. So this could be a good compromise. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe right now, because soon we will also give you an update on the BMW X5 facelift and see, I guess they will also put these screens in there, and then we'll also lose the temperature dials as for that. So we already reached the top here now. I'm going back to the comfort mode. I can also set in here the cruise control, for example. There are different modes to activate, for example, the assisted driving or the distance control. So depending on if you just want to have the car to reduce the distance to the car in front of you, or then the assisted driving mode. Motorway, it's the main use case for that. Here on these winding roads, you see here, yeah, you don't want to trust in it 100%. That's just too fast. It's also not what the system is laid out to. It's more meant for the motorway, and on the motorway, it's working very, very well. We also have blind spot monitor in the side mirrors. So all the assistance systems are not too intrusive. So they let you drive the car still, but if you activate them, they work quite flawlessly, just not when we have too many winding roads. But that's the cool thing about this driving party today, that we can show you these beautiful winding roads here and the agile character of this vehicle, which is still present. At the same time, it's just a good cruiser. When it's going straight, you can enjoy hours and hours and hours going on a road trip, go see some national parks, and you always stay fit and activated. Put the seat cooling a little bit higher to stay cool in these seats here, still enjoying the plush comfort. That all works very, very well. So I'm still quite excited about driving this one, and there is another video of the X7 if you want to see different colors, Blue Ridge Mountain and the deep frozen gray, also comparing the 8-cylinder, or if you want to go with one of the competitors, tune in here.